If you have been driving in Canada for more than 10 years and you have not reviewed what changed on Canadian roads in 2026, there are 10 new rules now in effect that most drivers have never been told about. Not 10 suggestions, not 10 guidelines, 10 enforceable rules with fines attached, demerit points attached, insurance consequences attached, and in some cases, an immediate roadside license suspension attached for behaviors that millions of Canadian drivers perform every single day without any awareness that they are now illegal. The drivers being caught right now are not reckless. They are not careless. They are experienced drivers who learn the rules correctly and who have no idea that several of those rules no longer apply. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will know all 10, the exact fines, the exact consequences, and the 4 that are catching senior drivers the hardest right now in 2026. Before I get into it, tell me in the comments right now, how many years have you been driving, and has anything on the road felt different or more strictly enforced in the past few months? Drop your province and your answer below, because what this community is experiencing on Canadian roads right now is something every driver needs to hear before it costs them money they never expected to lose. This channel exists for one reason: to make sure every Canadian knows what is coming before it affects their wallet. Subscribe and turn on notifications now. Colleen is 68 years old, retired nurse from Regina, Saskatchewan, driving since 1975. 51 years behind the wheel, not a single accident in her life, not one ticket, not one demerit point. Last month she was driving to her granddaughter's birthday, Highway 1, right lane, posted speed. She passed through a construction zone, pylons on both sides, no workers visible. She maintained the speed she had always used through empty construction zones her entire driving life. 3 weeks later, an envelope arrived, $595. 3 demerit points, and a letter from her insurance company beginning a premium review. Colleen called her son. She said, "I drove through that zone the same way I have driven through every construction zone for 50 years. Nobody told me the rules had changed. Nobody told me anything. And the worst part, Colleen is not alone." From British Columbia to Nova Scotia right now, experienced drivers with clean records are receiving fines in the mail for behaviors they never knew were violations, habits they learned correctly, rules that changed without personal notification to the millions of people they affect. Now here's where it gets really interesting, and honestly this next part is the reason this video exists. Tell me in the comments right now, before watching this video, did you know any of Canada's road rules had changed in 2026? Yes or no? Drop your province below, because the answer this community gives is going to tell us exactly how well these changes have been communicated to Canadian drivers. Rule number 1, construction zones. Empty sites now carry full fines. For decades, Canadian drivers understood construction zone speed limits applied when workers were actively present. That understanding is no longer legally valid across Ontario, British Columbia, Alberta, and Quebec. Construction zone speed limits now apply the moment you enter a marked zone, whether workers are present or not, whether the site appears active or abandoned. The pylons and posted signs are legally sufficient on their own. In Ontario, a first offense inside a construction zone carries a minimum fine of $360 for 10 kilometers over the limit, $642 for 20 kilometers over, 3 demerit points. Automatic insurance notification. In Alberta, construction zone cameras on Highway 2 are mailing tickets without any officer interaction at all. The fix: the moment you see the first pylon, reduce to the posted limit. Not when you see workers. The pylon is the trigger. Rule number 2, distracted driving. Holding is now enough. Most Canadian drivers know using a phone while driving is illegal. What most do not know is that holding the phone at a red light with the vehicle completely stopped is now a chargeable offense. You do not need to be moving. You do not need to be texting. Holding is enough. In Ontario, the minimum fine for a first distracted driving offense is $615, 3 demerit points, and a 3-day roadside license suspension effective immediately. Not at a hearing, not at a later date. Your license is taken on the spot. Officers are now using unmarked vehicles and elevated cameras specifically to catch drivers at intersections and in stop traffic. The behavior that is catching the most senior drivers, placing a phone on the lap for navigation at a red light, is legally identical to texting under the current rule. Mount your phone before the engine starts. $5 mount, $615 fine. The math is straightforward. Rule number 3, move over law. Camera enforcement is now mailing tickets. When you see any vehicle with flashing lights stopped on the shoulder of a Canadian highway, you are legally required to move to the furthest available lane and significantly reduce your speed. This applies to police vehicles, tow trucks, roadside assistance vehicles, and highway maintenance crews. Every flashing amber light on a Canadian highway shoulder is a legal trigger. What changed in 2026 is enforcement. Roadside cameras across Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia are now being used as legal evidence. The camera records the violation. The ticket arrives in your mailbox weeks later. No officer, no stop, no warning. In Ontario, a first move over violation is $490 plus 3 demerit points. Second offense, $1,000 and a possible suspension. Rule number 4, aggressive merging, now treated as careless driving. Unsafe lane changes on Canadian highways are now being treated with the same seriousness as careless driving charges in several provinces. Fines of up to $2,000, 6 demerit points, and in repeat cases, a possible 6-month license suspension. The updated standard requires a full shoulder check, a signal held for a minimum period, and a safe measured gap before the lane change is completed. The merging technique most Canadian drivers have used their entire life, quick glance, gentle drift, hope the other driver adjusts, now falls outside the legal standard in several provinces. Rule number 5, tailgating. Camera evidence is now accepted. Following too closely is now one of the most heavily penalized offenses on Canadian highways. New roadside cameras and dash cam based reporting systems are being accepted as legal evidence. If your vehicle is recorded following another vehicle too closely, even for a few seconds, a ticket can be mailed directly to your home without any officer interaction. Fines begin at $490 and climb past $1,000 for repeat offenses. 4 demerit points attached. The safe following distance standard has been increased. What felt completely safe and normal under the old 2-second rule may now be legally considered aggressive driving. Rule number 6, pedestrian yielding. Approaching the curb now triggers the requirement. Failing to yield to a pedestrian who is approaching the curb, not yet on the road, simply standing at the edge, can now result in a fine of up to $1,000 and 4 demerit points in Ontario. British Columbia has expanded consequences further with possible court appearances for repeat offenders. Officers are stationed at marked crosswalks in every major Canadian city. The habit of slowly rolling through a crosswalk when no one appears to be actively crossing is now considered a full violation. The pedestrian approaching the curb is legally sufficient. Rule number 7, school zone cameras, now operating 7 days a week. Automated enforcement cameras are active in nearly every Canadian province. In 2026, the fine thresholds have been reduced, meaning even 5 kilometers over the posted school zone limit can trigger a ticket mailed directly to your home. In Ontario, fines start at $150 and rise significantly with speed. And here's the detail most drivers have never been told. These cameras now operate 7 days a week in many regions, not only on school days. A driver passing through a school zone at 7 in the morning on a Saturday at a speed that would be completely legal on any other road can receive a ticket in the mail. Rule number 8, snow clearing. Roof and hood now required. Driving with snow on your roof, your hood, or your trunk can now cost you up to $300 per offense across Ontario and British Columbia. If that snow dislodges and strikes another vehicle, the fine climbs into the thousands, and you could face a charge of unsafe operation of a motor vehicle. Enforcement officers are no longer accepting the excuse that the vehicle was too tall to clear or that the driver was physically unable. If you cannot clear your vehicle, ask for assistance before driving. Rule number 9, prescription medication, and impaired driving. Driving under the influence of certain prescription medications, even those prescribed and approved by your own doctor, can now result in the same penalties as alcohol-impaired driving. Immediate license suspension, vehicle impoundment, criminal charges. This is the rule that shocks the most senior drivers when they hear it clearly stated. Many seniors take daily medications without awareness that the warning labels about operating heavy machinery apply directly to their legal right to drive. Read every label. Ask your pharmacist specifically whether your current medications affect your ability to drive legally. If you are a caregiver for a senior who drives and takes daily medications, have this conversation with them this week. The consequences of driving on certain medications are identical to drunk driving under current Canadian law. Rule number 10, license renewal for senior drivers and the invisible deadline that is suspending licenses without warning. This is the rule generating the most urgent consequences for Canadian senior drivers right now, and it has nothing to do with a traffic violation. In Ontario, drivers who turn 80 must complete a renewal process that includes a vision screening and cognitive screening, the clock drawing test, at a Service Ontario appointment. The renewal notice arrives by mail approximately 90 days before the license expiry date. If the appointment is not completed before the expiry date on the license automatically becomes invalid. No grace period, no warning call, invalid on the expiry date. And here's what is catching seniors who did everything right. The notice goes to the address on file with the provincial licensing authority. If a senior moved and did not update that address, the notice went to the previous address. The senior never received it. The license expired. The first sign of the problem is a traffic stop. In Ontario, driving with an expired license is $260. If the license was in a suspended status, the fine is between $1,000 and $5,000 for a first offense. Check your license expiry date tonight. If it expires within 12 months, contact your provincial licensing authority immediately. Confirm the renewal requirements for your age. Confirm the address on file is current. This is a 5-minute check that could protect your independence and your driving record. Tell me in the comments right now, which of these 10 rules surprised you the most? Drop the rule number and your province below. I genuinely want to know which ones this community had never heard about before watching this video. Now here's your action checklist. 10 rules, 10 habits to check before you drive tomorrow. 1. Reduce to the construction zone limit the moment you see the first pylon. No workers required. 2. Mount your phone before the engine starts. Never hold it while the vehicle is in drive. 3. Move over and reduce speed for every flashing light on every highway shoulder. Tow trucks, maintenance vehicles, every one. 4. Full shoulder check, minimum signal time, measured safe gap before every lane change. 5. Increase your following distance. What felt safe under the old standard may now be legally aggressive. 6. Stop completely for any pedestrian approaching the curb at any marked crosswalk. 7. Treat every school zone as an active camera zone every day of the week at every hour. 8. Clear all snow from your roof, hood, and trunk before driving. No exceptions. 9. Read every prescription medication label and ask your pharmacist specifically about driving. 10. Check your license expiry date tonight and confirm your address is current with your provincial licensing authority. 10 checks. Most of them take less than 5 minutes. All of them are protecting your license, your record, and your money. And if this video helped you, hit the like button right now. 1 second. It is the only way this reaches the next Canadian driver who is about to learn one of these rules the hard way. Colleen is disputing her fine. The construction zone rule provides no exception for the absence of workers. Her insurance review is ongoing. She called her daughter after she found out and said, 51 years of clean driving, 1 envelope. If someone had told me the rule changed, I would have slowed down without a second thought. You now know all 10 rules have changed. Drive accordingly and share this with every Canadian driver you know before their envelope arrives.